Have you ever tried a no-buy challenge where you commit to not purchase items for a specified period of time? I started one about 6 months ago thinking I could go an entire year without purchasing these items. And while I've done really well in some areas, in others, I am failing miserably. For any of you that struggle with consumerism like I do, in this video, I'm going to be walking through what's working, where I went wrong, what I've learned, and how I'm moving forward. Because yes, the progress is real, but so is the struggle. So first of all, what did I commit to not purchase for a full year? And why did I even set this as a goal? If you're like me, you are tempted by the ease of ordering things, whether it's from Amazon or you see something when you're out and about, and maybe you have a little extra disposable income and $20 here, $30 here isn't gonna break the bank, and you start to accumulate. And maybe it's not $20 or $30, maybe it's $5 or $10 because it's at a flea market or at a thrift store. And so you feel even more justified. That's my story. And if you look back on my YouTube channel, I actually started this as a decluttering channel because I have accumulated so much over the years. And my house is starting to look like a hoarder's house because I have just too much stuff. But this is coupled with I love shopping. I love trends. I love trying new clothes. If you've seen any of my Temu videos or Shein videos, you know that I just love trying new things. So what were my no buy challenge rules for myself for the year? The number one group of items that I committed to not purchase is just because I have an abundance of them and I need to work through the ones that I have. And they're all lumped together because I think of them in the same way and I store them in the same place, but they are different types of items and they include scented candles or other candles, hand soaps, and those I tend to purchase at Bath and Body Works, bath and body gel, and face creams. So really skincare, body care, and candles. All of those things I just have in abundance. I need to work through the stock that I have and have no need to purchase anymore until I deplete what I have. Number two category for me is books. I love books. I love to read. I'm in a book club. We read a book a month and then I try and read another book on top of that. So in general, I have multiple books going at the same time. I was an English major in college and a philosophy major, so I accumulated a lot of books during that time period that I just can't part with. So my no buy challenge rule for myself when it came to books was not that I couldn't buy books, because let's get real, but if I bought a book, I had to release a book. So it was a one in, one out rule when it comes to books. Category number three is souvenirs. And for me, this means going to a concert and picking up a t-shirt, traveling somewhere and getting either an apparel item or a memento that has the name of the location on there, something that you pick up specifically to demonstrate that you went to this particular place. Versus I'm allowing myself to, if I see a pair of sunglasses on a trip or a piece of jewelry, that would be different because it doesn't necessarily shout or state the location of where it was purchased. So I let myself be a little bit flexible with this. If I wanted to do some shopping while I was on vacation or out of town, that would not necessarily count as a souvenir. Category number four, I knew I couldn't tell myself no clothing, shoes, or jewelry. That would just be too hard for me to follow, but I did give myself another one in, one out rule. So any pair of shoes, item of clothing, or jewelry item that I brought into the house, I would need to release an equal item. So shoes for shoes, jewelry for jewelry, clothing for clothing, etc. The fifth set of items is not something I spend money on personally, but it is something I tend to acquire and bring into the house. And so because of that, I included it in my no buy challenge, which, remember, you make up your own rules. So these are my rules. You may have completely different rules. Category five is promotional items. So I do travel for work and I go to a lot of trade shows. And if you've been to trade shows, you know that people have little giveaways at their booths. These can be anything from chapsticks to lens cleaners to frisbees, you name it. People have little tchotchkes that they've branded with their company name to help you remember them by, and they start to accumulate. So how's it going so far? Well, I've aced three of these categories. They are category number one. I've not purchased any candles or body care or anything. I've actually purchased a couple of skincare items, but it's because I've run out of items. And of course, that's allowed. It's more like I don't need any lotions. I don't need any shower gel. I've got plenty of that kind of stuff, but I did need a cleanser for my face. Souvenirs I've been successful with, but it's been tempting. This one has been a little bit harder. So when we've been on vacation, for example, we went to Costa Rica, there were some cute things there that had Costa Rica on them. There were sweatshirts and they said different things. And we've gone to a couple of music festivals and they have cute shirts and they have all the band names. And I'm a big fan of some of these bands and would love to wear their apparel. For example, I got to see Noah Kahan at Bottle Rock and I'm a huge fan of Noah Kahan's, and I actually got in line like 3 times to buy a Noah Kahan sweatshirt and I didn't end up buying it. I stayed true, but I was very, very tempted. And then promotional items, I've actually had in my mind as I've been going through these trade shows, no picking up promotional items, but it's something I have to tell myself because my natural reaction is, ooh, chapstick, ooh, sunscreen. You know, like I want these items and they're free and they're usable, but I have to remember I don't need them. I have chapsticks at home. I have little hand sanitizers at home and I don't need them branded to companies promoting them and using their wares and just contributing to the overproduction of items. I don't need them. So those are the areas where I've been successful. Now for the failures. Okay, books. So for books, we're typically choosing the 12 books for the following year in December. And so I will at some point at the end of the year go to Half Price Books. If you have one of those, you know it's a great place for used books, and I'll see what I can find there and then I'll order the rest on Amazon. For the most part, I like a hard copy book. I do have a Kindle, which I will sometimes use for travel if I'm trying to keep weight down or bulk down. But at the end of the day, I prefer turning pages. Does that resonate with you, or am I alone in that? I know some people really love their Kindles or Nooks, and I have one and it's okay, but I just prefer a book. What are your thoughts on that? Here are some of the titles that we're reading for this year. You may notice something if you look carefully, which is one of them is in there twice. Why is that? This is one of the dangers of overconsumerism. You can't even remember what you have. I found this amazing book at Half Price Books. I couldn't find it because I have so many darn books. I bought it again on Amazon. So now I have 2 copies of the same book. When I purchased all the books, I did not go into my bookshelves and pull out as many books as I purchased. True confessions. The other category of failure, and this is a big one, is with apparel, shoes, and jewelry. The first couple of months, I actually was really good. I would find a couple of things and then I would find the matching item in my closet and get rid of it. So if I bought a pair of shoes, I would get rid of a pair of shoes, something that looked a little bit more modern. So I'm replacing 2 black blazers with 2 black blazers until I was really following that for the first 2 months. And then I just forgot. I forgot I was doing that. And I just shopped and bought stuff and I didn't get rid of things. And my closet is growing again. This is not good. This is where it's just so hard. I do struggle with decluttering and releasing items. Some of them are very emotional for me. I tie them to either an aspirational version of me or a memory or a value. I feel like I paid a certain amount for them and therefore I can't just let that money go because it's like losing money. So these are all the reasons that it's hard for me to declutter, and I'm aware of this. How do I overcome it though? Can you relate at all? Do any of you struggle with those reasons for not decluttering? I think at one point I remembered, oh yeah, I think I was supposed to get rid of something when I bought something and I shoved it deep down. I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna think about that because it's too hard. I mean, that's the reason that I've accumulated over time anyways, because the getting rid of is hard. Books, clothing, apparel, that's where it all went wrong for me. Do you have any areas that you just really struggle with, that no matter how much you tell yourself you don't need it, or you're going to set rules for one in, one out, you just can't help yourself? Or is it just me? Please tell me I'm not alone. If you're finding this relatable, I would love for you to join me on my journey as I try new things, which includes, of course, trying trends in clothing and apparel, but also trying to just better myself and my situation. I'm 50. I've got the next half of my life to look forward to. Well, maybe not half, I guess like third or quarter, depending on my lifespan. anyway. I want it to be the best that it can be. So I'm always trying to improve and try things out. And if that sounds interesting, please join me on my journey and hit that subscribe button. How about you? What do you just keep buying over and over again? Is it candles? Is it picture frames? Is it spices or things that you'll bake with? I feel like a lot of people do have an item that they just allow themselves to purchase over and over again until they one day look at the collection and go, I have enough. What is that item or items for you? So I'm more than halfway through this challenge and I've got the second half of the year to look forward to. I allow myself grace. This is my own challenge. I'm not getting penalized in any way for it other than I have a messy closet. I can acknowledge that I have messed up and that I want to get better and that there's definite room for improvement. So what am I going to do differently moving forward? So first of all, that big stack isn't on the shelf yet. So there's still time. I typically will not put it on the shelf until I've either read it or reviewed it. And I do keep a Goodreads account, which is helpful for me because there have been times where I pick up a book and I'm 30 pages into it and go, I think I've read this one before. So part of it's for my own sanity that I don't waste time rereading books that I've read in the past that I didn't like the first time. And then part of it's just for reference and recall and all those things. Once I read a book and review it, then I will decide, do I want to put it on the shelf and give it a permanent home in my house? And if I do so, then I will have to trade out a different book. So as far as the books go, I think I can still redeem this one. There have only been like 8 or 9 purchases so far. The rest I still need to purchase because I didn't find them at half price. So I can still redeem myself when it comes to the books. Okay, the clothing, apparel, and jewelry. Whew. In all transparency and honesty, you've seen my Temu hauls. You saw I went to TJ Maxx. I've posted videos about that and I kept a bunch of that stuff. In all honesty, I've probably purchased 30 to 40 items in that category of clothing, shoes, and jewelry that I haven't found an equal match to get rid of. I'm 50, so I'm obviously at a point in my life where I have most of the items in my closet already covered. There may be some very specific events, costume events or special events where I don't have the exact thing. For example, my daughter is getting married this year and I do need to buy a mother of the bride dress. I don't have something in my closet that I want to wear or feel comfortable wearing for that special occasion. So that will merit a purchase. But for the most part, whether it's a business conference, going out with the girls, or hanging out at home, I've got all that stuff. Sometimes when I'm out at TJ Maxx or just browsing Amazon, I'll see something that I think is super cute and I'll add to cart. It's so easy to add to cart, but then I don't need it. I already have items like that at home. One area that I really noticed when I was doing my dress challenge was what I'll call resort wear dresses. You can't really wear it to work. It looks a little odd going to the grocery store. You wouldn't necessarily wear it around the house. It's great on vacation. For example, a dress with maybe a cutout on the side or a one shoulder dress, things like that. You can't really wear that in the office. And if you're wearing it around the house, people kind of look at you like, what are you wearing? But if you're on a beach in Mexico, it's perfect. So I was going through my dresses, I found I probably have a dozen or more of those. And even if I went on a 2-week vacation to Mexico, I don't need that many. But yet that's the type of item I'll see at TJ Maxx or in Temu and be like, oh, I need that. It's so cute. The idea with this challenge is for me to go, Sierra, if you bring that in, you have 12 resort dresses. Which one are you getting rid of? And then I think, maybe I don't need it. That's the goal. So clearly I am a work in progress. This challenge is a true challenge to me because it makes me really have to consider, be mindful, and analyze what I already have before I make that purchase. I know people have suggested that you not purchase things right away, you wait before purchasing items online. I do that. It doesn't work for me. I don't buy things right away. They sit in my cart. For example, right now, I think in Shein, I've got an $800 cart, and in Temu, I've got a $300 cart. They're just sitting there, and eventually maybe I'll pull the trigger or I won't. But the delayed purchasing doesn't work for me. How about for you? Have you tried the delayed purchase? Like you put something in your online cart and you don't let yourself purchase it right away. And does that work for you? I think the only way for me to really cut back on my spending is with this challenge and to be very, very mindful of what has to leave in order for the new item to come in. And that's the whole point of this challenge for me. So, takeaways. Maybe I was too ambitious with the number of categories. So, those are five pretty broad areas of restrictive behavior. And so, maybe it's too much. Maybe I'd need to focus on just one at a time to really hone in and develop those habits that I want to develop. I am going to stick with those five for the remainder of the year and see if I can't just do a reset and work from here towards those goals. I put myself on wrapping paper restriction, 6 or 7 years ago, when I recognized I had an abundance of wrapping paper. Now, part of this was the kids were doing fundraisers in elementary school for wrapping paper, and I bought to support them. But then I realized I've got a lot of wrapping paper. And if you're like me, tell me if you are, we're using bags a lot more often than we are using wrapping paper. And so the wrapping paper was starting to accumulate. I didn't call it a no buy challenge at the time, but because I had that one item in mind that I had restricted myself from, I was really successful in not purchasing more of it. So my takeaway might be, and maybe you can benefit from this, to just focus on one area at a time. I also think it's really hard if I am considering what I have at home when I make a purchase, when things are in such disarray that I actually am not aware of the things. And that was illustrated by the purchasing of the 2 books. I didn't even know that I had the book already. So it's hard to be mindful and do a one in, one out challenge when you don't know what you have. And that way, decluttering may have to go along or precede a one in, one out challenge. So clearly, I don't have all the answers. I'm sharing my personal struggle. Is this something that you've ever tried to do or thought about? And how is it going for you, or how did it go for you? My hope is that I'm not alone and maybe some of you can relate to this. Please let me know in the comments below if you've tried a no buy challenge and how it's gone, what's worked for you, where you failed, and how you've reset in order to dial back that consumerism and appreciate what we already have. I invite you to watch the video next where I made the commitment to this no buy challenge, as well as evaluated how I did with last year's no buy challenge. And I'll see you over there. Bye.